It's an absolutely beautiful day. Welcome back for another video. It's time that we do this, the 10,000 mile review video. I kind of shot over my 10,000 miles and I'm getting close to 11,000 now. So if you guys are not familiar with this bike, it's a 2023 Road Glide ST. So if you guys haven't watched my first video when I first got this bike, and I did my first impressions video, I'm gonna link that up here. It's time that we revisit and talk about what do I like about this bike? What do I want to change about it? So first thing right off the bat, your first pro and the biggest benefit of this bike is obviously going to be comfortability. This is the Grand American touring bike. I mean, there is really nothing out there that's going to beat this, in my opinion. This bike is meant for distance, it's meant for miles. Another massive benefit to having the touring bike, I really like this, is that tank is almost 6 gallons. So if you're cruising, you can get 240, 250 miles off of it very easily, depending on how much load you got on the bike. The one thing I will say about riding a touring bike like this is it feels like you're sitting on a pillow, man. It eats up just about every bump and little crack in the road, and everything it handles incredibly well. Now, some of the things that I would love to change about this bike, you guys know me well enough. I would love to see Brembos on this bike because I like to ride fast, and if you're gonna ride fast, you have to be able to stop fast. I'm a big fan, like I said before, those CVO STs, they have inverted front ends and Brembo straight from the factory. So going back to some of the things that I would change, obviously, if you've seen my other video, we changed out the handlebars with the Kraus Wolf 1 kit because we all know stock Harley bars aren't the greatest. So that's why I went with the T-bar setup. We have the Kraus Wolf 1 with the Fly racing bars in here. Got my DynoJet Power Vision up there. I have a video where we covered install and talked all about this and showed this off. I'm gonna put that in the corner as well. Obviously, this is one of the things that I changed about my bike right off the bat. Also, another thing we did was the Fuel Moto Contender. If you haven't seen that video, I'm gonna post that as well, where we covered this a little bit more in depth. I've always been a big fan of those bronzed out pipes on the bike, so the way that it looks, I love that. So one other thing is these bikes, like most Harleys, come with the Dunlop tires on them. And so far, I'm a big fan of the Dunlops. I've had Metzlers on my lowrider, and I've always been a fan of those, but these Dunlops are pretty nice for this bike. Obviously, another crucial change is you want to change out your seat. So I went with the Saddleman. I've had this on 3 Harleys now, but I am thinking about maybe doing a Lapera or something a little bit different, just for my girlfriend. You know, she complains that the Saddleman's a little bit hard, which I understand. So we're gonna look for something else. The one thing that I will say about this bagger and it having the 117 Milwaukee 8 motor in it is it does have a lot of power and responds very quickly on the throttle. It doesn't have anything performance in it other than a map and a pipe on it. The air cleaner is stock. Before I got this bike, I had a Lowrider S with a 114 in it, and it had a cam in it. We had it tuned. We had some clutch work done, but as far as power, that was basically it. When I first got this bike, I thought, oh man, you know, I'm gonna have to drop a cam in it immediately. It's gonna be so slow. It's such a bigger bike. The 117 in this bike responds so fast. This bike winds up really quick. All right, we got Leonard, and we're gonna head down, go get some coffee. So we're heading down to Pikey, and we got Leonard with us. In my opinion, this bike is the perfect all-around bike. I know Harley markets this as the Grand American touring bike, and it's meant for distance, and you got a road trip with it, but this bike is perfect for just everyday riding. The nice thing about Harley-Davidson is we all know the aftermarket community is massive, and there is so many companies, there are so many products and options. You can build a Harley-Davidson a million different ways. Now, there's a lot of mainstream builds and a lot of common things, but you can set this bike up with a trailer and a big touring pack and the leg fairings, put a big tall windshield on it. You could just ride around the country non-stop and, you know, travel like that. And I've seen people do that. You can also take this bike to the track and ride it hard. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, I took this out and did a track course with Kyle and Cody Wyman, courtesy of Red Rock Harley-Davidson, put on by Champ School out here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Absolutely incredible course. I encourage you to check out Champ School. You can ride this bike hard on the track, and you can tour with it. Now, with that said, there's a couple caveats though. I mean, obviously this bike is a little bit wider and a wider profile compared to, say, like a Lowrider S. It does make filtering through traffic and lane splitting a little bit harder, which I kind of talked about. But I feel like for a lot of people, road glides and baggers are very intimidating because of their size and their weight. Now, me personally, I am probably the smallest guy that you will find out there right now riding a bagger, aside from the guys in Bagger Racing League, because they find the smallest people on the planet to ride those bikes. But I'm a really small guy. I am not a big dude. This bike is way bigger than I am, and I ride it perfectly fine. If you can get used to your clutch zone and master your front and rear brake, you will be perfectly fine. You have to be a little bit careful about parking on hills. Sometimes I struggle with that. I have a really hard time backing this bike up a grade, you know, like say in a parking spot or, you know, putting it somewhere. So I always try to nose in to where I can either go straight out or back out. And I always try to be careful when I park on a hill. So I mean, there are a few things that I have learned about this size of a bike, but it's nothing that's going to prevent you from enjoying it or riding it. Oh, that's Jay and his wife. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I really don't want the size of this bike to intimidate someone and stop them from going out and demoing one, because I've ridden a couple different bikes now. This is my third Harley, and it's my biggest Harley, and I love it. Compared to all the other bikes that I've had, I don't regret buying them. They were very important for my, you know, riding development and learning how to be a good rider. You know, I did that on those bikes. And very important in my journey in riding and motorcycles. In my opinion, there's nothing that's going to beat this. An American motorcycle. It's got that raw V-twin sound to it. It doesn't sound like a sewing machine. After you put a Fuel Moto Contender on it, go check out my video. Shameless plug. Followed me over on my Instagram for long enough, you'll know that I have debated baggers for probably like 2 years. Like, oh, you know, I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I'm ready or not. And well, I got this one, and I probably should have done it a little bit sooner, because this bike, man, is just, I love it. I absolutely love it. Hey, one of my biggest complaints with my lowrider was that bike wasn't very good in the wind, and I put a Memphis Shades Road Warrior on it, and that actually grabbed the bars a little bit, you know, in the wind. I could kind of feel it tug just slightly. My street glide guys, you know what I'm talking about. I just kind of feel it doing things that you're not telling it to do, and that's kind of worrying. So with this bike, you don't get that. Frame mounted, so I don't feel anything on the bars in the wind, and this fairing keeps it all off my chest. I get a little bit of it at the top of my head, and it's just because I have a short windshield on there. Just looks absolutely beautiful in the sun. So we made it to one of my favorite places. Had to get some more coffee. This is like my third or fourth cup today, but yeah, it's all right. So I'm fired up. So to kind of put a bow on everything here and wrap it up, I'm gonna ask you, is this bike for you? And I want you to think about that. I know that this bike can be very intimidating for some people because of its size, but I don't want that to be a reason for people to not be interested in one of these. I absolutely love this bike. I've had 3 Harleys now. By far, this is my favorite. I miss every one of my Harleys because I feel like it's part of my story, and you know, maybe one day I would love to pass those bikes down, but you know, I kind of miss my Sportster, I kind of miss my lowrider. You know, those were fun bikes. I put a lot of miles on them. I enjoyed the hell out of them, and I'm doing the same with this bike right here. This motorcycle will go down as most likely one of my favorite bikes I have ever owned. This isn't going to be the end. I plan on many more motorcycles. I would love to add more to the garage. All right, guys, we're going to leave this video here. Once again, massive shout out to everybody who's been supportive of the videos. Make sure you guys like and subscribe down below. Huge shout out to Cardo Systems for sponsoring us through this year. Massive shout out to First Manufacturing as well for sponsoring us. My discount codes and links are all below. By using those codes, you help out this channel massively and you help keep me going. So thank you very much. Catch you guys in the next one.